This is designed for short people, not for tall, huh? So I have to... Okay. So shall we start? Yeah? Okay. Thank you for coming. My name is... First one, who I am. My name is Andreas. I'm an experienced design manager. I have 15 to 20 years experience in the field, creating teams in London, Germany, and Greece, and mostly trying to solve solutions in big scale problems. I worked in various industries, and now we're here to talk about haptic interface. Now I'm in Greece, and I work for EPAM. EPAM came to Greece in July. I think it's the biggest company in Greece right now. We have over 60,000 employees in 35 countries, and our revenue is around 5 billion. Boss, yes, correct? It's the boss, so I have to speak carefully. And it was founded in 1993. We have all fields: artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, IoT, cloud computing, and we have a lot of awards. So I'm pretty glad that I came back from London and worked for EPAM. And I hope EPAM will be an incubation center, let's say, innovation center in Greece, so people would join, work together in teams, in big-scale programs or projects where we have clients like Apple, Google, Microsoft, so it's really innovative to work there. So today we're going to talk about haptic feedback. Haptic feedback, it's like a word that is not commonly used, so I spoke to my colleague there. If you know haptic feedback, Ostap says, no, what's that? So I was surprised, but yeah. I'm glad that he's here, so we can talk about it. So, you all have watches, smartwatches, or smartphones. It's an industry that is upcoming, and it's going to thrive in the upcoming years. So, I'm going to describe in the next slides how that will change our lives. And together with artificial intelligence and machine learning, I think it's going to make a big impact in our today life. So haptic, it's the touch that provides feedback, and tactile, it's the physical contact. Like imagine you press something and it vibrates, or you have a joystick and it vibrates. Together, they can make very incredible user experience, user engagement, and what they can bring to the user. It can improve engagement, how you interact with the product. So it's the device that's speaking to you, and you speak to the device. It's a good engagement, like when you vibrate, when you have sensors vibrating. It's enhanced, and it's better information transmission. Like imagine that you run and you want to be notified if you run the miles that you had set as a goal. So it can inform you, and it improves safety. Like I don't know if you ever see football players wearing that vest. It's connected with a device, so it can connect and give information about how they interact, and it measures like muscle engagement and other things. And so let me explain the categories of haptic feedback. Some of them maybe you're aware, some of them maybe not. And first one, I think that's the most important. I was in Switzerland, and it was now I'm doing my PhD in haptic interface and user experience. So I was in Switzerland. It was a very interesting thing that came up, study. They're creating tissues. So imagine that you're in Greece and you put your hand in a device, and from the other way, the doctor can touch you and see if you have a tumor or something else. They're improving that, so in the upcoming 5 years, it's going to be in smaller devices. Now it's a huge device that you can put your hand in. From the other hand, the doctor does that. So graspable haptic interfaces. As you can see from the image, it's the doctor that tried to stitch. And this is all iconic, let's say. So if a doctor made a mistake, yeah, it's not going to be harmful for the patient. So this is for testing. Some graspable devices are for testing. And now they're improving, and it's using it, so it can be remotely telemedicine, they say. You can do surgeries on other things. And on Culberson student, currently develops a dental simulator that you can drill a hole in your tooth, but it's virtual. So if he can be trained in this interface, so he doesn't make any mistakes. And I think this is going to be very innovative in the upcoming years. Another thing, it's the touchable. You all interact with devices and interfaces, like your phone, game controllers, smartphones, wearable technology. And when you push a button, when you have some alerting, this is all haptic. And of course, the wearables. I mean, the Apple Watch and some other garments change the way we interact. I think in the near future, we're going to forget the phones. All that technology is going to be bringing smartwatches, and it's going to be the next level of engagement with this smartwatches, sorry. So, some examples. And I'm going to analyze a few of them, not all, because it's limitation on time. So, first one, it's the medical industry, as I said. So, advanced medical technologies for prosthetics, or about prosthetics, I want to focus on that because people with disabilities, they cannot interact they put the new generation of prosthetics. You put a prosthetic, and you can have movements, or you can feel temperature with a new prosthetic. This is going to change and help people with those disabilities. Yeah. I think you all experience gaming. Yeah. So about Nintendo Switch Joy controller with HD rumble, so you can understand recoil of a gun, or ice cubes in a glass. And of course, steering wheels when you play games that Formula 1 and other things. Another interesting thing that is upcoming, it's aerospace industry. Simulators, when you pilots, when they try to fly, to be educated, they go into simulators and have all that experience about elevating, about vibration where they smashed, they fail. And of course, before a lot of years, NASA had the robotic arms when they went to space, and they had these sensors installed in this vibration, in this robots, so they can understand interactivity and engagement. Imagine that they were in States, in NASA, and you have an airspace in the moon, and you try to grasp something, and it fails. So they try to simulate that engagement so they can feel what's going on. Another interesting thing, it's fashion industry. It's smart fabrics that can interact with audience. As the example, you can try and adjust about humidity, about how if you sweat, reduce the sweat. It's with microbionics, so it's an interesting thing. And of course, fashion industry is influenced by that. As you can see, smartwatches and other devices try to incorporate tactile interface and be innovative. First, so I'm trying to explain how to create a tactile interface. First important thing for me is to understand the user. I'm going to set an example. Imagine that you have a banking app, yeah? and you try to pay, you try to get some, you pay some transactions, you know. Imagine that you getting vibration or alerts or notifications. Somebody mixes about notification and alerts. It's two different things. So when you create an app, you try to identify what is an alert, what is a notification. So it's a problem, yeah? If you try to combine it and include it in a tactile interface and how you engage, you'll be able to understand what is an alert and what is a notification, yeah? So first, it's the importance of user needs. You need to understand how you're going to create that product in order to be efficient, innovative for the user, and try to provide instant feedback. So by understanding user needs, your designers, developers, and other manufacturers, they can understand and create an intuitive and easy to use user experience. This is the first important things that you need to understand. You all, I don't know how many you experienced Tesla. Yeah, they change the way you interact with the product, the car. And I guess other manufacturers like Mercedes, BMW, embedded in their user experience those tactile interfaces. And so important is to conduct user research in order to gather feedback and try to understand how you're going to build that. So in Tesla, they created a small screen and it's all inside. Somebody judged it, somebody preferred it. But the good thing is that they changed how the industry interacts with a product that was not commonly used before. Like, we didn't have in cars like screens or vibrations or other things, or gestures. It was like all buttons. Now they try to make tactile interfaces inside the car so people can engage, improve the user experience. Of course, safety. I will explain it in the other slide. And when us designers, developers, when product managers trying to create a product, yeah, and sadly, now that I'm in Greece, we have a big bank that we incorporate, they don't put on the top the people with disabilities and limitations. Imagine a patient that has a problem with his hand, yeah? You need to understand and include all perspectives when you're creating a product. Or imagine people under 60 that have eye problems, yeah? Imagine creating a small buttons in the screen or in the car. Like now cars, some of them, like Land Rover, the new Evoque, if you want to change the temperature, it's a very small button. I mean, imagine driving like 160 and you try to change the temperature, you're going to smash. So things are going to change fastly. And for me, important is to take care first when you create a product, people with abilities and limitations, disabilities and limitations. So it's challenging to design an interface, yeah? And it's challenging due to the complexity of technology sometimes. Because you need to understand where you're going to put vibration, where you're going to put piezoelectric sensors, how you're going to interact with the user, how often you're going to interact with the user. So it's challenging for me. And I think if you have a good team and you create a manual, I will explain what is a manual, you can create very good user engagement. So imagine a team goes out and understands user needs. Then they're going to come back to the team and try to map those insights. What they gather, what insights they gather. In UX, I'm not going to go there. It's a process that is commonly used human-centered design approach. So you do some steps. In this kind of thing, when you're creating tactile interfaces and haptic interfaces, you need to create a map because it includes more things. Like technology. If you put a lot of vibration in a tactile and haptic interface, you're going to lose battery very, very, very quick. So you need to take care a lot of things other than design, other than development. So, first thing is identify key features. Like you creating the new screen for BMW, yeah? What will have on it? How people will interact, like if you're speeding, how you're going to interact with the user, how the user will interact with the interface. I don't know how many of you are aware, the new BMW have gestures, like if you're driving and you want to change the station, you just do this movement. Yeah? Low down the voice, or up down the voice, or swipe left or right. This is an engagement, this is a tactile interface. And it's also important for designers to consider the overall user experience when identifying key features. You need to understand what you're building, what technology, how you interact, age of the user, and how much all these insights are going to be mapped to create that. Second one is interface requirements. Imagine that you're creating a smartwatch app. Yeah? You need to consider about buttons. You need to consider about vibration, how you're going to interact with the user. And there's some slightly changes. The Ultra Apple phone, it's slightly bigger. In the face of a common user, you cannot understand things. But when you're creating those kind of apps, it's very interesting to see the centimeters. Because buttons will change. The age of the user is going to define how you're going to interact with the product. So, considering technical, ergonomic requirements, tactile and haptic interface can be functional and comfortable to use. And of course, what I've said, consideration of accessibility. That's another important aspect. In some areas, yeah, in order to do user research, you need to have an apply form that people consent to give you to be part of a user research. So people with accessibility, in tools like Maze or other tools that is existing in the market, they don't include people with accessibility. And this is bothering me a lot. I mean, when I was in London, we were creating something for a hospital, yeah? And we were trying to create an interface. And it was very difficult to find people with eye disorders or movement to be tested. So it was an issue. In UK, they have regulation about that. And when it's highly critical to create an interface like that, there are some industries that provide you people that they're willing to give you feedback. I don't know what happens in Greece, to be honest. I would like to explore it, because in our client, we need to consider this thing, the banking client. So, UX and technology. Technology in those kind of interfaces plays a significant role. So piezoelectric materials in UX. It's electronic devices that are providing energy harvesting, haptic feedback, sensing, acoustic imaging, and wearable technology capabilities. So it's not only about coding, it's not only about designing. You need to include also technology in that. And if you search in Amazon, you can find sensors, or you can find other technology that you can test when you're creating a kind of this. So imagine that the designer creates something, and you need to go for user testing. It's a little bit difficult if you don't have vibration, if you don't have like technology like punching actuators or other things. So in London, we created a setup. We buy that technology, we created an interface, it was connected with engineers, and we tried to prototype. So another critical aspect, it's the force sensors. So force sensors are haptic technology that measure the pressures applied by the user touch. How to set an example, like when you try to open your phone and it's not open, so you have some certain vibration. So it's a small vibration, or if you punch to a button and it's not punched, and it gives you a default message that you didn't succeed your CTA. So force sensors can play a significant role when you're creating haptic interface. And of course, and I want to stick on that, because how to explain that? Okay, let me give you an example. You imagine in COVID, yeah? When we have that alert from the government, I know some people that are not from Greece, but imagine that it's 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night, and your phone, and you didn't have your phone in silence, yeah? You remember that sound. It was like bombing. It was something like, it was crazy. You had that alert that you cannot go out, or the weather is going to change, yeah? So this is a bad AUX. And you need to consider that there's different approaches in user experience in sound. If you're going to have an alert, how are you going to create that sound? And of course, now, when this industry is evolving, you're going to have a mental model, how you prefer to listen things. Yeah? So this is a very important aspect and critical aspect when you're creating a product. So please consider that. So about product design, how you're going to create that product. So you need to have intuitive feedback, yeah? Easy to understand what's going on when something is happening, yeah? And the user should be able to quickly and easily interpret with the feedback that he's receiving. Consistent feedback. That helps the user to develop a mental model of the interface, how you interact with mobiles, how you interact with your car. Timely feedback. Imagine that you get an alert that something's wrong with your card in your bank, and you have a connected app, and it delays the feedback that it's going to give you. So you might lose your money, you might lose your time, I don't know, and other aspects. And it's going to cause you frustration. Meaningful feedback. Vibration patterns, like if you have a long vibration pattern, something is wrong. If you have a small one, it succeeds. So you need to create that mental model, how you vibrate, how you give vibration feedback to the user. And of course, if you have consistently annoying the user about vibration, you're going to have problems with your bodily life. This is another aspect you need to consider about that. And another aspect is variable feedback. Haptic feedback also be varied to provide different levels of feedback for different action. For example, a short vibration could indicate a successful action, as I said, while a longer vibration could indicate an error or a warning. So you need to consider those things. So it's user experience sound and user experience in vibration. That's a new aspect in the industry, and we need to consider that one too. Sensory integration. So haptic feedback can be integrated with other sensory inputs, such as visual or auditory feedback. Imagine that something vibrates, you need to give visual feedback together with vibration and other aspects. So it will create an immersive and engaging user experience. And of course, accessibility. This is important again. Let's go to testing. We had a discussion about a client. So when we create a product, when we test, we said we're going to create, we are in a hurry, we need to create that thing. So please quickly deliver. If you don't test often in small scale, yeah, during the period of the product development, at the end, you're going to have a product that is not for the user, it's for you, for example. And in haptic feedback, there's advanced user testing. I don't know how many of you are aware, but first one, yeah, it's common. You conduct user interviews to understand what's going on. You go and create a mapping of the user, and you try to question your users what they want. So you collect that feedback. But when it has to have with movement, imagine the footballers that were in that vest. How they're going to interact with the product in order the trainer will get the insights that he wants, and how he's going to be notified that something is wrong. So in Premiership, they have that vest, and when a footballer has a problem with his heart, it indicates the trainer that something is wrong. And the footballer receives a vibration that you need to stop. You need to have go on the bench and take a time off. I don't know. So this improves safety. So when it has to do with haptic feedback, you need to conduct biometric testing. It's like measuring physiological responses such as heart rate, skin conductivity, and it's kinesthetics. Our body has 3 levels of kinesthetics, like your fingerprint. If you press a bit, it goes to the third level of engagement. If you press a little bit, it goes to the second level. If you press slightly, then you can understand temperature, but not enough. If you leave your hand a little bit, you can understand temperature more. So biometric testing, you can understand how much you're going to press, how much you're going to interact. If you want to give temperature insights to the user, how long you need to press, and how that button will interact with you, how the device is going to speak to you. So very important is biometric testing. Second one is ethnographic research. You need to put the user to test this device in his own space. Like as the image shows, if you have a VR, you need to give him the comfort to be in his own space, to feel comfortable in order to test it. And that will give us the insight that how we're going potential design improvements in real-world scenarios, or in the car. You need to put the driver to test the vehicle, so you need to understand how it will interact. In other products, you don't conduct usually ethnographic research. Like an example is like when you were creating an app with Nastya, my colleague in design. You don't need to put the user in this engagement. Third aspect, it's eye tracking. There's with artificial intelligence, and that will change the way we get research with the user. It's data-driven collection, and together with eye tracking, you don't have to test, and that's amazing. So I can suggest you and give you some tools. It's iQuant, a friend of mine used it in London, so it collected data without conducting eye tracking, so he can understand how an interface can be attractive in some key points, where he's going to look, where he's going to read, hot points, etc. I'm going to go fast now. Another aspect is biomechanical analysis. It involves measuring user muscle activity, joint angles and movement patterns as they interact with the haptic and tactile interface. As you can see in this image, you put sensors and you put an athlete to run, so you can understand if he can lift something or how his muscle is going to interact. And of course, emotional response analysis. It's facial expressions, voice tone, like imagine talking to Siri. What will happen if you increase your voice, or if you decrease your voice, or in Alexa? It will like if you go offensive with Alexa, it will respond to you. It's something like haptic interface, yeah. So manual. It's important to create a manual. Put all those things in a manual, and when you create a product like this, be aligned. How we're going to use vibration? It's going to reduce the battery or not? How much we're going to use that? And of course, challenges of haptic and tactile design. Challenges are enormous. I mean, what is coming and what we are dealing right now, I think it's 10% what we're dealing. With AI and machine learning, it's going to go crazy. How much time I have?
8 minutes.
Okay. User experience consideration. I'm going to go quick because if you have Q&A, we can talk at the end. So I described what needs to be considered. Yeah, what needs to be analyzed. I don't know what will come with AI. Yeah, it's unmapping. I don't know what will come, but I think it's going to change our industry, designing, and I think it's going to change development for the upcoming years. And of course, testing and iteration. You need to test fast. You need to test a lot, and by doing that, you will not lose money, clients' money, your time. You're not going to do the same product again, etc. So, future, what will come? There's a prediction in my university that this industry, in the upcoming 5 years, is going to bring billions. And it's going to, I don't know if you're aware, connected devices through web. Before 10 years, refrigerators were not connected with internet. Or cars, they weren't connected with internet. So when they're going to be connected, now it's connected, refrigerators are connected. So if you don't have a grocery, it interacts with you. How they will interact with you? This is the question. So we need to solve it out. How products, they will interact with us. How they're going to speak with us. Robotics are coming. How they will interact with us. This is an unknown territory. And for me, it's very, I want to explore that, yeah? And maybe in Greece, we can create a team and explore that industry. But it's coming fast. Have you heard of autonomous driving? It's coming fast. Volvo created that. So it's not in the level 3, it's on the level 1 or 2, but it's upcoming. In 5 years, it's going to come fast. So how are we going to interact with those kind of devices? Like imagine you're driving, yeah, and you don't have the wheel, and there's a people in front of you, and how the car will stop, how you'll be identified. Or you have like 5 kilometers to reach a destination. How this car is going to notify you that it's coming. If you hear a sound like the one that we heard with COVID or with weather, it's going to be crazy. So UX in sound, UX in vibration, it's all about user experience for me. And I think it's going to change what we experience right now. And I'm wishing you all good vibrations. Yeah? So, yeah, I don't know if you like it or not. I'm available if you want to contact with me through LinkedIn. There's some pretty innovative stuff happening. And for me, I'm searching people that are interested in the same field to engage with me and explore different possibilities in such of devices. And as I said, we have a big client. I think it's going to be insightful to talk with them. I don't know how open they will be, but we are trying to do that, and we hope we're going to change the banking industry in the next upcoming year. So I cannot share more. I'm sorry. But you will see some technology coming in the banking industry. Thank you. If you have any questions. Thank you very much. I didn't expect it for you. You're my friend, but okay.
Well, it was an interesting presentation. Thank you. My name is Gustav.
I know you. Yeah.
What actually top 3 use cases you would look personally to apply this haptic interfaces? You mentioned you would like to explore that in Greece. What would be the first top 3 use cases?
I want to talk with the government. I don't want to listen to that sound anymore in my mobile. When something wrong is happening, they need to fix that quick. That's one topic. if they're open to do it. Another topic, I'm sensitive about kids, yeah? And you know, when kids go to the doctor, they're afraid of it. So incorporate haptic feedback, like the doctor or the dentist will be in another room and the kid in another room just to check his teeth if he's okay. You can create devices like that. So fear or other aspects or emotions can be out of the box. Yeah. So medical, government issues, banking. It's an open field. Car industry. Yeah, a lot of things.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation. It was,
My pleasure.
it was really interesting. Going back to the topic that you mentioned of getting user feedback before you develop a product, which I think you correctly mentioned, and this is the process how we should approach
We try.
every product. Yeah, we try.
Yeah, clients are not open always, but we try.
That's right. I only identify one difficulty there.
Yes.
It has to do with how innovative and how new the technology is. And that difficulty has to do with the fact that the users sometimes don't have the experience of such products, sensors, and they're not able to provide a useful feedback because they don't know how it will look or how it will feel. How do you approach that gap of understanding?
Yeah, very good question.
You say at somebody, this is a force feedback sensor, they probably think about Star Wars rather than...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so how do you approach this?
Very good questions. So when you applied human-centered design methodologies, and there's a process how you conduct user research, yeah? So I invited you to be with me and talk. And I'm the moderator, and usually it's 3 people. So me, someone that take notes, and you. So when you come at this engagement, you are afraid, yeah? Or you're worried what they will ask me. So before that, I will have a consent form, what you will experience. So I'm going to describe it. I'm going to give it before 2 or 3 days. You have to read it all and sign it. And when you come to this engagement, the first thing that I will have to do with you is explain you. Take that comfort. Like, you're not the experiment, yeah? We try to get insights to create that product. So by explaining, but try to define all the process before the engagement, you put him in the zone, like, now we're going to do it. Are you ready? So make him feel comfortable about that. Describe it very detailed. What you're going to do. I mean, so I had some colleagues back in the day, so they just get some people and we have some focus group with Vodafone in the UK. So they put 10 people, they just jumped in, now we're going to test this. You cannot, it's the emotional aspect of the user that is going to be engaged with that product. So detail that before you put him in this procedure. I think that's the key.
Do you still get useful feedback out of it in the sense that if somebody tests something new, something that you've never tried, most probably the answer would be, that looks cool, I would like to have it. I find it hard and very difficult to imagine somebody saying, this is terrible, I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, it happened.
It happens.
Yeah, a lot. Why? Because the prototype was not good. It's all linked. It was not all linked, like all buttons, like all sensors, or like he had a fight with his wife, or his wife had a fight with his man, so his mood to be tested was not so good. So it's different aspects. So you don't test only one. You have to make it big scale. It's up to 5. Don't go above it. It's going to bring you to parts here that you will not understand. So one case study that it's interesting. So when I was in Frankfurt, we were creating an app for the Gusa Bank. And I was, time's up. Yeah, I'm going to answer.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, okay. So the bank had 1,000 people. They called them friends and family. And before I went there, they said, okay, let's test it. So they were giving that app to all those of people just to test it. And the feedback was not constructive. It was not a question and an answer. It's like, I like this or I like that. They were so confused. Yeah? I said, we don't need 1,000, we need 5 people. And they didn't accept that. So we got to give fights, yeah, to get at this level of what we want. So I think it's going to be balanced in the upcoming days. But this technology is new. People now, I'm not even so experienced to be honest. Yeah, I've done like 5 use cases. How you test haptic feedback interface, sorry. This is, and the client needs to have budget to do all of these activities, yeah? A very good thing, like when we biokinetic research, the University of Thessaloniki is very advanced on that. So they test people how they interact, their muscles. So we cooperate with them back in the days with the UK client, and it gives us a very good feedback. But explore universities, you will find amazing stuff inside there. Conduct research. I finished. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.